there, my name's Stacey Dye, and I'm what's called a Heilkunst practitioner. And I wanted to come on and do a video and explain to you what Heilkunst is, because it's not very well known, and it actually hasn't been around that long, about 25 years. And it's this emerging modality that is just incredible, and the shifts that I've seen in myself and also the people I work with is phenomenal. And so it's basically it's a very, very spiritually based medicine, and it helps us to evolve our consciousness basically, and to really remove everything that's stopping us from being our essential selves and following what we call our objective desire function. And so our objective desire function is basically a very unromantic way of referring to our soul's purpose. You know, everybody has a purpose, why they're here. And we tend to, have things that block us from fulfilling our soul's purpose, whether it's, conditioning that we've received throughout our life around what is an appropriate career, what's going to make ends meet, and you need benefits and things like that. And so we create false beliefs around that stop us from pursuing what we really want to do. And things like fear and self-doubt, they come into play as well. And so basically we work on removing all of those things that stop us from really realizing our full potential. And so we do that by basically using homeopathic remedies in a different way that have never been used before. And so we're kind of like homeopathic renegades, basically. So we're using homeopathic remedies according to the law of similar. So this is a natural law of like cures like. And so this has been around, it's been around forever. It's a natural law. But so Hippocrates used this, the Egyptians used this. But this natural curative law didn't gain popularity because they were using crude or large doses. And in a lot of cases, these medicines or these remedies would cause death. And so it didn't gain popularity until Hahnemann came along. And Hahnemann is the father of homeopathy. And so he developed homeopathy back in the 1700s, and he was a doctor who, at the time, he was very disillusioned with the medical practices of the time, and he would probably have similar complaints that I would have today. And so he left his medical practice and he dedicated himself to studying the materia medica. He figured that we had enough medicines in our materia medica, but we just weren't using them properly. And so he started to delve into that and started to apply the law of similars, but he wanted to see how much he could dilute the medicines and still have them effective. And so he found the more he diluted them and what's called potentizing them, so that's the intimate mixture of them, the more he did that, the safer they became and the more effective they became as a remedy, and homeopathy was born. But Hahnemann was ahead of his time back in the 1700s, and he was a dynamic thinker. And so people really didn't start to grasp the full depth and breadth of what he was saying until more recently. And so that's what we're doing with Heilkunst. Basically, it's like Hahnemann's genius really fully realized. And then we also take into account Steiner and Reich. And so we study Hahnemann, we study Steiner, and we study Reich. And all of these three geniuses come together to make this amazing spiritual medicine. And so basically the process that I take people through would be treating what we call the timeline, the traumatic timeline. So a person's traumatic timeline is, the physical and emotional shocks and traumas that they've been through in their life, whether it's, a concussion or a surgery or, a traumatic divorce or a death in the family that really affected them, or, a long-term emotional trauma like abuse, for example. We would treat those things because as we go through life, those things basically accumulate. And if the shock or the trauma is strong enough or frequent enough in nature, it's like shrapnel that lodges itself in our life energy, and we carry it around with us. And so many times I've had people in my office and they'll talk about an event that had long passed, and then they'll start crying and they'll say, "Oh, I don't know why I'm crying. I've dealt with this." Well, maybe intellectually they've dealt with it, but that shrapnel is still lodged in that life energy, and so it's still carrying a charge. And so to me, that indicates, oh, okay, we need to go in there and we need to treat that. Basically, we need to take that shrapnel out of the life energy. And so we basically start with the most recent or the most significant shock or trauma, and we work our way backwards. And it's kind of like peeling the layers of an onion to get to the core, and we go all the way back to birth. And then we treat what Hahnemann called the chronic miasms. So the chronic miasms are chronic inherited diseases that get passed down. So let's take tuberculosis, for example. Tuberculosis is one of the chronic miasms, and it gets passed down. So it can get passed down 7 generations. So you wouldn't have, if someone in your family history going back 7 generations had tuberculosis at one point, you wouldn't have active tuberculosis, but you would have a genetic predisposition because of that family history. And so, of course, people with inherited tuberculosis will tend to have lung issues. So whether it's asthma or chronic bronchitis, bouts of pneumonia, things like that, those are all in our world related to inherited tuberculosis. But even if a person doesn't have the physical symptoms associated with a particular miasm, you can see it in the state of mind. And this is my favorite part about Heilkunst. There's a state of mind with every disease state. And so when we go in and we actually treat those diseases, it shifts a person's state of mind. It shifts a person's way of thinking. And so they remove that disease blockage that was, getting them trapped in that certain way of thinking. And that was the most profound thing for me when I first started doing Heilkunst. It was, I had started my spiritual path back in my late 20s, and, I was doing everything that I could get my hands on, like I was doing meditation and yoga and reading, Eckhart Tolle and Esther and Jerry Hicks and, all those sorts of things. And I found that everything that I did, it would help to sort of palliate things, help to calm things in the moment. But if I didn't stay on top of it, these negative states of mind would start to come back in, and it was like I couldn't change my way of thinking. And it wasn't until I started being treated with Heilkunst that I could actually get rid of those ways of thinking, because they aren't actually who you are in a state of health. It's a disease state that comes in and messes with your thinking. And so when we go in with the remedies according to the law of similars, and we actually remove that, we change that disease state. And so then being in a more positive, having a more positive frame of mind becomes so much easier and more natural, because you've removed all these disease blockages that are, all these diseases that are talking in your head, basically. And so for me, that was the most profound. And so with the chronic miasms, with any disease, but also with the chronic miasms, you can see them because of the unique state of mind. So take tuberculosis, for example, inherited tuberculosis. With that miasm, the disease state is restlessness. So people with a lot of inherited tuberculosis hate anything constricting or confining, like a job that they can't move up in, or they'll like to do things like go traveling, and if they can't go traveling, they'll maybe move their furniture around or take a different route to work, just to kind of break up that monotony, I guess. And I had a lot of inherited tuberculosis, and I loved to travel. And before I was 40, I had lived in, I think, 41 different homes. I moved all the time, and I changed jobs. And so, yeah, now that I've had my inherited tuberculosis treated, I'm a lot more settled. And then once we treat the chronic miasms, we address what we call the chthonic realm, which is in the realm of our deepest fears. And so these deepest fears keep us from living our life the way we want to. And then we go into the false beliefs. And so also the false beliefs, when we have these beliefs about ourselves, whether, I'm not lovable, or, I don't fit in, or I'm not good enough, these things will stop us from being who we really are and following what we call our objective desire function, which is our soul's purpose and our reason for being here. And so I wanted to talk about that, but I'm also going to start a series next week. I'm going to be every week releasing a video, a Heilkunst-based video, and so subscribe to my channel, and every week I'll release a video, and next week I'm going to be starting a series on the homeopathic constitutions. So our constitutions are basically like our homeopathic personality types, and they're really, really fun. And so I will post those every week, and then I'll try and stick around for an hour to answer any questions you have. And so if you write a comment, I will definitely answer them, but I will try and be on for an hour after I post the videos. And so I'm going to start posting the videos every Friday at 11 o'clock Pacific time. All right, so subscribe to my channel and you'll get those videos. And I hope you enjoyed this video on Heilkunst, and I will see you soon.